So let's look at it, right? So, basically, when it comes to NBA, there are two major issues in the league that everybody will talk about when we talk about problems in the league. And that's gonna be flopping and tanking. Flopping, not so much. Of course, that's been around a long time. People are kind of picking on certain players with flopping, so it kind of seems like a bigger issue than it is. It's not many other things to talk about this time of year, so that's why it seems to be big. But flopping is something that is talked and complained about every year. But one thing that have really come to a huge like crossroad, and that's tanking. And I felt, I mean, I didn't really see it or I don't understand it, but people who watch the league and who cover the league in great detail really seen that tanking was a huge problem in the NBA this year. So Adam Silver, who what can I say, bro? He has really done a good job since he took over the league. Great owner, great ownership, and great leader. So with that, he's really taken a charge to lead on some things here, and they had a lot of things that they were thinking about and considering, and recently just got some approvals to help prevent tanking and to change the draft lottery to penalize teams who are the worst team, so you're no longer going to be able to use that strategy. You have to compete, you have to try to remain competitive, and I think they did some good stuff. So NBA proposed a 3-2-1 draft lottery system, and that was passed on Thursday. Basically, it's a new system designed to eliminate incentives for teams to prioritize their position in new draft over winning games, which is basically to stop tanking. So let's go over here and look at some of the resources and how the 3-2-1 lottery works. So basically, in the draft lottery is literally what it talks about. It's like a lottery, pop ball, and then they take the stuff out, and that's how they come up with who wins. So the more balls that your team has in the lottery pot, obviously the higher chance you have of getting it. That's kind of how they do the lottery. But now what they're gonna do is switch the number of balls each team gets. And I don't know how much it was before. Maybe it was three all along. I don't think it was three. I think it was a lot more. But basically, the ratio now is going to be the three worst teams in the league. They're only going to get two balls. So having the worst record does not give you the best chance to get the top number one pick. Now, the non-play-in teams, which are going to be seven, they're actually going to get three balls, which actually incentivizes the teams at the bottom to actually fight harder, because it's like you can't be in the bottom and win. You got to be kind of in the middle. Can't be the worst team, right? So it incentivizes those teams at the bottom to fight harder, which is really going to create for a more competitive play towards the end of the season. I really like this. The play-in teams will still get two, and if you lose the play-in and you're out of the playoffs, you'll get one ball. So even if you're a really good team, you still have a really small chance to get, a top pick or a lottery pick, basically. So all 16 teams get drawn. You can't get the number one pick in back-to-back years, and you can't get a top 5 pick in 3 consecutive years. So you can't get a number one pick in back-to-back seasons, but you can get a top 5 pick in back-to-back seasons. But that third year, if y'all steal ass, then you grass. You ain't going to be able to get a top 5 pick. So they're going to have to repick you outside of the top 5. Now, in terms of protections for picks, which sometimes you can have protected picks in the league, you can't protect top picks 12. You can't protect the top 12 picks through the top 15 in trades. So 12, 13, 14, 15 can't be protected. Second round, the first 16 picks is inverse of the first round order. Non-lottery teams in inverse of regular season records. So basically, when it gets to the second round, the first 16 picks, I think, are going to be reversed. So if you pick 16 in the first round, then you'll pick first in the second round. And if you pick first in the first round, you'll pick 16 in the second round. I'm pretty sure that's what that means. That's a little crazy as to why they do that, but I think it kind of creates more balance in a sense. So if you're the number 8 team, you're going to get 2 8 picks, top, lottery picks, 8 through 10. You get 2 lottery picks. So I think that's pretty dope. So that kind of, you want to be in the middle of the pack, really. It kind of really boils down to that. Sunset after the draft, vote is required to keep this system or go to a new system. And league discipline, they're going to add the ability to reduce the team's lottery odds or modify their draft positions and impose significant fines. So this is dope because basically they're going to vote on this as soon as the sun go down after the draft. Hey, do we like the way this worked out? Or maybe this didn't work. So it's a temporary thing, but they'll continue to see if this worked. I like this move by the league. I think this will fix it. I'm not going to lie. This is a really, really, really great strategy. Now, on top of that, it's obviously, being a 3 worst team or still losing games, it's still going to be able to be manipulated. So what they're saying is they're still, if they feel like you tanking or doing something wrong, they're going to reduce your lottery odds, which means they'll take a ball away from your team. They can do that. Or they can switch your draft position, period, and say, okay, well, yeah, you end up getting the number 1 pick, but you was tanking, motherfucker. So we actually going to move you down to number 6 pick. So they can do that and impose significant fines. Self-explanatory. They're going to hit the bag, hit you for that money. This is the percentage chance that teams will have to get a pick, right? Looking at it, if you're a good team or an average team that just didn't make the playoffs, which I would say maybe pretty bad, we have to look at this year's record. You used to have an 8% chance to get that number 1 pick. A top 5 pick. You got an 8% chance, which, is the highest here. So this is what that looks like, basically, man. If you lose the play-in, you still got a 3% chance of still getting a top 5 pick. And I think that adds a little bit of parity to the league. And if you're the worst team, then you still get a shot, but not as much shot. You still got a pretty good shot to get a top 5 pick and build your roster. Like all the teams who don't make the playoffs versus the top team, top 2 teams from the play-in, are the top 2 teams, first 2 out of the playoffs and the play-in. They, typically they have a good shot of getting a top 5 pick no matter what. You know what I mean? And here those numbers are over here to the right of the graph. If you're just like a mediocre team, you got a 24% chance of getting a top 3 pick. But if you're the worst team, 16. I mean, y'all reading it, y'all see what it is. It's a small percentage chance, to get a top 10 pick and be in a play-in. I think that's still good. I think maybe that happens either way. I don't know. But these figures assume that the lottery teams are not subject to the top 1 or top 5 restrictions. Meaning that, if you got a number 1 pick last year, you can't get it next year. And if you got a top 5 pick the previous 2 years, you can't get it in the 3rd year. So I think this is dope. I think this is great for the league. And I obviously think this will fix the tanking. And especially the most key thing that I see here that fixes the tanking is the fact that they have the ability to manually go in and modify the draft position and also reduce your lottery odds. Like, the NBA is going to be looking closely at how teams operate, especially throughout the end of the season, and really looking back probably the whole season. And they're going to pretty much say, hey, if we don't feel like you upheld the integrity of the competitiveness of the league, we'll penalize you and impose significant fines. They're going to start hitting these guys' pockets. These owners, this has got everybody on their toes to where you got to play basketball, man. Our league, we got to fix this fucking problem. Like, our league has to return to its dominance. And in order to do that, they're willing to tag you probably $10, $20 million if they feel like you playing games. So here's some stuff with the Grizzlies and the Utah, and Minnesota. Wow, Minnesota, that's kind of crazy. I think that was probably one of the most challenging parts of this is voting on something that affects next year, but also that affecting teams directly. Like, hey, you know, if I got this here, if this rule goes into effect, that means my chance of being competitive and getting a top pick next year drop, or versus somebody else who's like, oh man, if this goes forward, then I have a better chance of getting a number one pick. So I think that's it. You can see that 29-1, the Memphis Grizzlies were the only people who voted against it. Obviously, the Memphis Grizzlies are the fucking tankers, chat. The Memphis Grizzlies are obviously the tankers. They were the only one who didn't like this out of all 30 teams in the league. So obviously they were tanking, and their tanking efforts this year, by this rule going into effect, it eliminates that. So that's crazy, bro. But the Grizzlies have 2027 first of Cleveland, Minnesota, and Utah, but because Utah has a top 5 pick this year in 2027, it can't be in the top 5 under the new rules. This year, the first in 20. No, it can be. You can't have it 3 consecutive years. I don't know what that is. Oh, this is Bobby Marks. I don't know if he misread that or what. I'm not sure what that is. But yeah, fines up to $10 million, forfeiture of draft picks. Like, the league is not playing. Like, they gonna really put the hammer down on you if they feel like you are not competing and remaining competitive. Like, they're tired of it, bro. But I like this, chat. And apparently all the owners of the league do, except the Memphis Grizzlies. So I think that this is a good move. So yeah, we'll see how that all plays out, man. But shout out Adam Silver. His leadership has been great since he's taken over the league, and he continues to make improvements. They even talked about AI being implemented into some of the foul calls to help with flopping, but that's another topic for another day. We'll really see how that works once they develop all that tech. That should be pretty interesting. So yeah, that's pretty lit, man. So this next couple seasons should be a lot more competitive. So looking forward to it.